Hey guys, welcome to episode 102 of the SoFLo Sports Show. It's your host, 305 Sports Babe, co-host Lou from Dade, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. Tonight we are on the eve of the NFL draft, the night that before dreams are made of. So super excited to be covering the NFL draft, specifically with Miami Dolphins. We have a special guest who we're going to talk about in a little bit. We're also going to cover, we have two South Florida teams, two teams in the playoffs right now. And we are a little spoiled because it has happened the last 5 years consecutively. Right. Talking about our Florida Panthers and our Miami Heat. Both round one playoffs happening this week. Heat are playing now against the Cavs. Last night, Panthers took care of business against the Lightning, so we'll get into that. But before we get into anything else, two things I just want to touch on before we talk South Florida sports. First, I want to take a moment and to acknowledge, Florida State University and the terrible shooting that they had last week. There's no room in this world for violence. So definitely, we're thinking about the victims and the campus as a whole. A Florida school, even though it's our rival, it's still a senseless act of violence. And our thoughts and prayers are with everybody in Tallahassee.
Absolutely. They are a rival, but that, sports is way in the back burner in the game of life, which is most important above all. So we are with our Florida State brothers and sisters. Even though we're rivals, we're with you and in your corner during this, that was a horrible thing that happened.
Yeah, and also something happened 2 hours ago. Steve Mongo McMichael, Hall of Famer, Bears legend, has passed away at the age of 67 from ALS, a terrible, debilitating disease in which he fought so hard for. But unfortunately, today he was moved to hospice and lost his fight just a few hours ago. So thoughts and prayers are with the Bears community and his family as a whole. And we have to keep fighting for a cure for ALS. It's just such a debilitating disease, and it's unfortunate.
Yep, no, absolutely. He was a legend, a champion with the Bears, and definitely a loss there.
Yeah. So, all right, let's talk about some good things going on. So, Florida Panthers in the playoffs again, fighting for their chance to hopefully become Stanley Cup champions.
Yep. They started the title defense last night in Tampa against their state rival, Tampa Bay Lightning. What a game it was. I mean, they blew them out 6-2.
Crazy.
Matthew Tkachuk, first action in over 2 months.
Yeah.
He got hurt in the Four Nations face-off, which is the NHL's version of the All-Star game this year, to try and get a little bit more excitement. So they did that instead of the All-Star game, regular All-Star game festivities. And Matthew Tkachuk went out there, got hurt during that time in February, missed the last 2 months, comes back, doesn't miss a beat, 2 goals and an assist. Again, the Panthers win 6-2. They are on their way. They are, 15 more wins, right, to repeat. Get the title defense started last night against their state rivals. Big deal. It's crazy. The Panthers are actually started the playoffs as the favorites to win the cup, but they were a slight underdog in this series. A lot of people thought the Tampa Bay
were hungry
with being the home team, which, we've mentioned home ice doesn't mean anything in the NHL playoffs, but incredibly enough, the Panthers were not the slight underdog in the series, but yet they are favored to win the cup. So they are on their way. They got off to a good start. Now the Heat, that's another story. Well, you want to mention the Heat?
Yeah, well, one other thing about the Panthers. So again, last night was game 1. Ended up beating Tampa Bay 6-2 at the Amalie Arena in Tampa. Their fans left early. They even made it. The broadcaster said, "Oh, this place is emptying out. We've been there, done that. We know how those games are. We stayed till the end." Game 2 is tomorrow. It is a 7:30 game or 8:30. 7:30 or 8:30. I don't remember the time, but it is game 2 is in Tampa. Game 3 which we will be there.
Yes.
On Saturday at Amerant Bank Arena, 1 o'clock, which there's another team in town playing at 1 o'clock. We'll talk about it a little bit, unfortunately. Double time book. And then game 4 would be on Monday for the Panthers. So a lot of hockey action.
I don't know who did that, but whoever scheduled, this is one of the disadvantages of not having your hockey and basketball teams playing the same arena. This is what happens.
Yeah.
You ended up doing a double booking, and so now there's gonna be a puck drop and a tip off at the exact same time, 35 miles apart, one in Sunrise and one down here in downtown Miami. And I don't know who thought that was a good idea, but it's a real disservice to, the fans out there that actually have, we're not one of them. We're Heat season ticket holders. The Panthers, are a little bit of ways from us, from where we work and where we live, but we make our way out to the Amerant Bank Arena for plenty Panther games during the year. But man, it sucks if you're a season ticket holder for both teams and you got to pick which game to attend because they're both at the same time. That's not right.
Essentially, we had to pick because if it was like a 1 o'clock game and a 7 o'clock game, you guys bet your bottom dollar that we would have been at the 1 o'clock game and we would have scooted north or south to get to the 7 o'clock game. But unfortunately, as they say, you cannot be at 2 places at one time. So we will be supporting the Cats on Saturday at 1 o'clock at Amerant Bank Arena.
And we'll be back at the Kaseya Center on Monday night for Game 4 of the Heat series. You want to mention how the Heat?
All right, so let's talk about this. All right, so last time we spoke, the Heat had I don't want to say a small shot, right? They had a shot to get into the regular NBA playoffs. Now, in order to have done that, they had to beat 2 teams on the road. Those teams were Chicago, and then it ended up being Atlanta. So we go into Chicago last Wednesday, and Tyler Hero lit it up like no other. I don't know what this man had before the game, but he was on fuego, fire, you name it. He had one of the best performances in his whole entire life. He ended up winning at the United Center.
Wire-to-wire victory. They didn't trail at all the entire game.
Monstrous. It was just – and then I'll be honest, we have seen plenty of Heat games this season where, they poop the bed going into the 3rd and 4th. And I'm like, please, this is not the time to do it. Hold on to the lead.
We didn't have to worry about this game. The Atlanta game, they had it back and forth.
But yeah.
It was wire-to-wire against the Bulls. So
that
wasn't really a worry in that game at all.
So that was fantastic. We've destroyed the Bulls the last 3 years. The Bulls have bad nightmares about us. So that happened. And then on Friday, so last Friday, about a week ago, our matchup was against the Atlanta Hawks, Trae Young and his people in Atlanta. And this game was a close game, right? It ended up going to overtime. Davion Mitchell lit it up, fuego, fire, you name it. He was the MVP of that game, and we ended up leaving Atlanta victorious. We are the first 10th seed in NBA history to make the NBA playoffs. So very, very exciting.
Well, in the play-in history.
The play-in history. It's not that long. Okay, I was trying to make it sound good, Lou. Please, come on.
It's been about 5 years, but look, people have tried this before and not been successful. Proud to say the Miami Heat are the first team to do that.
Thank you.
10th seed, locking up those 2 what's going on, Finn Sammy? How you doing, buddy?
So it's the first time, Sammy. It's the first time, or it's the 5th year consecutively that the Heat and the Panthers are in the playoffs. So we are very, very, very busy people this week and hopefully continue into June, but we'll see because the Heat are playing the Cavaliers tonight. We lost the first game in Cleveland the other day, and it was rough, right? It was rough. During the pregame, the reporters asked Bam, what do you think about Max Strus? Obviously, Max Strus played plenty, had some time playing with us in Miami. And Bam said, I don't give up about Max Strus. Max Strus, Max Strus was one of my favorite players. I love the guy. Max is the total enemy. And the Cleveland Cavaliers are a really good squad. They're ranked number one seed.
The number 1 seed for a reason. And look, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the game just went to halftime and Cleveland has a 17-point lead. They are up 68-51 at the half. So if you are tuning in during halftime, welcome aboard. We are recapping last night's Panther victory and the current Miami Heat. They got the work cut out for him here in Game 2. But the main event is coming up as we are about to be joined by a special guest to talk Miami Dolphins draft, which, as you mentioned, is tomorrow. We are less than 24 hours away from the draft starting.
Yes.
Before we get our guest on board, the draft is very likely to involve local flavor, as the number one pick belongs to the Tennessee Titans. And by all accounts, they are projected to select Cam Ward
to be their franchise quarterback,
who was the quarterback from the University of Miami. And so that is a big deal. Miami has never had a player go number one overall, and specifically a quarterback. We've had Jim Kelly, Hall of Famer, with I won't mention what team he played for, but yes, Jim Kelly played for the U. Greats like Bernie Kosar, Vinny Testaverde, who won the national the Heisman Trophy.
So you mentioned a Jet and a Bill.
Well, I'm mentioning great players who played for the University of Miami, one of them being a Hall of Famer in Jim Kelly, and none of those guys were drafted number one overall, as Cam Ward is projected to hear his name called tomorrow as Commissioner Goodell approaches the podium. So that is a huge deal and another big milestone for the University of Miami.
Yeah, Tennessee, don't mess it up. You have one job. Just say Cam Ward. 2 syllables. Cam Ward. Get it. You will not regret it. He's a great, great, great athlete, and he will be your franchise quarterback. Obviously, Marcus Mariota wasn't it. Tannehill, we mentioned last time we were on a show, was pretty much a stepping stone. So draft Cam Ward, give him a good shot, and have fun with that.
Yeah, and another guy linked to possibly going to Tennessee is Xavier Restrepo.
Yeah.
All-star, all-world wide receiver for the Miami Hurricanes, who broke all the records. Miami is known as quarterback U, linebacker U, wide receiver U. You talk about Michael Irving, you talk about Hall of Famer Andre Johnson, all the greats that have played wide receiver for the Miami Hurricanes, and yet Xavier Restrepo has all the records. He has every single one of them. So that is a big deal. And yes, he had a bad 40 time. Yes, he's a little undersized, but look, the statistics do not lie. Xavier is a stud. And, I think that Tennessee would be wise to, at some point, try to pair him up with, Cam Ward in Tennessee.
Quarterback, wide receiver. They know each
Correct.
other. They know
it happens here where, the Dolphins paired up, reunited Jalen Waddle with his quarterback in Tua. It happened in Cincinnati, where Joe Burrow was given Jamar Chase to work with. So why not, duplicate, try to recreate that magic that you've seen in those places? And if I'm Tennessee, if I feel that he's going to go somewhere, I'd make a move and try to get Restrepo on my team and have some familiarity for their number one and franchise quarterback.
Well, we know the NFL draft, famous quote goes, beggars cannot be choosers. So
right.
If he is available, hopefully they'll make the right move. Let's go in the chat. Finn Sammy in the house. We also have Adrian, Rainy Day Pod. 2 guys with great shows. So be sure to give them a like and follow as well on their channels. But yeah, no, with the NFL draft being tomorrow.
I'm sorry, you said the what? The
NFL draft.
The NFL draft, which brings us to the greatest jingle of all time. I love that sound. You hear it, and hope comes, to mind, and hopefully we don't mess it up, and we pick the guy that we want, the guy that ends up working out for us. But that jingle, it's so good. I've made it my ringtone this week, as I know plenty of others out there have done. It's a great sound, and again, hopefully when it goes off, we're getting a stud to us, whether it's at 13 or somewhere else. Hopefully the Dolphins are getting somebody worthy.
Although we do know that, the past few years here and there, we've had some questionable draft picks, which we'll talk about later. I did a little poll on my Twitter, on my X, and I'm excited to share those results, my research project. So although we've had some great ones like Richmond Webb and, going back in history, there's also been some not so great ones as well. But we are looking forward. We're not looking backwards, and we're hoping that Chris Grier and organization as a whole will make the right decisions. There's a lot of decisions to be made because there are a lot of holes and there are a lot of positions that we need to fill. So hopefully we fill those positions with the right guys who are healthy and ready to play.
Yeah, and we definitely have a lot of movement. I know we're going to get into it with our guest.
Yeah.
In terms of some guys who are no longer on the roster.
Yeah. Some
guys that potentially could be traded.
Of course.
And some guys that may need to be released. And if you heard our last show, I think you know who we're talking about. He wears number 10. So, definitely some things need to fall into place. Some things are in order here. So, we'll see how that all shakes up here.
Yeah. And then the last thing, I wanted to mention was the Marlins. We are about a month, give or take, into baseball season. So, it's coming along. The Marlins are currently sitting 11-13. We took 2 games out of 3 from the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah, won a series.
One thing I do want to mention that it's not good is Sandy is struggling. Okay, and I have to.
He didn't pitch bad today. He started today's game. He was a loser in the game,
but he pooped himself against the Phillies.
Yeah, but that's okay. That was I'm talking about specifically today. He hasn't been at his best. That's true. But today, he did have a quality start. Went 6 innings, only allowed 3 runs. Gave his ball club a chance to win the game. Unfortunately, they didn't muster enough runs together. But,
But I got to say something.
Go ahead.
So, how, I've been saying forever, I don't want Sandy to be traded. I'm such an advocate. He is one of my he's my favorite baseball player currently. He's my favorite, Sandy's my guy, right? And I want him to stay a Marlin. But also it's I didn't say stay a Marlin and not have a great season either.
Right.
I don't want to sacrifice Sandy not being great and same with the Marlins.
Well, and
do we kick ourselves in the butt for not doing a trade with the Yankees that we could have got some real value back?
That was a rumor. I don't know if that was any truth to that, but to your point, I will say this. Now that they've, started off, they're 11-13. They do have a losing record, but they're still only, 4 games out of first place or 5 games out of first place. They're a game and a half out of second. The Mets are off to a hell of a start.
Yeah.
But the fact that they're not 7 or 8 games under 500. They didn't win their 11th game last year until about June. And the fact that they're still, hovering around the 500 mark, they would have been at 500 had they won today. You can't get rid of them. You can't trade Sandy. So as long as they're in it with a chance, it'll go so wrong for this fan base if you get rid of your, Cy Young winner, when you're kind of in it.
Yeah.
And so they cannot do that. That's why I thought before the season started, they should have taken the best offer. Now they're kind of stuck. As long as they're, playing somewhat good baseball and winning series, you can't get rid of them.
I'm okay with being stuck with Sandy, personally.
Right. Okay.
One player that I do want to talk about, we just brought him up, first of all, he's from Santo Domingo, and catcher Augustin Ramirez, right? We got played some time in Jacksonville. We saw him. Fans Club weekend? We saw him. I'm like, who's this guy? He's huge.
Well, he was the big piece in the Jazz Chisholm trade with the Yankees. So we traded Jazz Chisholm, who was our star, one of our star players that we got rid of, and he was the player back in that trade. He is our 6th ranked top prospect in our organization. He's a catcher, which whenever you have a catcher who can steal bases, hit for power, hit for average, that's a big deal. And so they didn't waste any time. Credit to the Marlins. They brought him up
on Monday, right?
And he's made an immediate impact. He, has had a couple RBI doubles. He's stolen the base already, and he's playing catch. He's playing catcher. He caught Max Meyer's game on Monday where he had 14 strikeouts.
Max is on fire. Yeah, that pitcher-catcher duel was something out of the water. It was fantastic. So that was and then even that day we were coming back from our little trip, and you said oh man, we should have went to that Marlins game. Dang, that was the game we should have been at. So Marlins, I'm pretty content, even though we're below 500 right now at 11-13. I'm chilling. I'm good. We found a few games this season. I went to a 12 o'clock game last week. I had a great time. I was like a pig in mud. I'm good. There's no panic button. We're just smooth sailing. Let's go back in the chat. Sandy, how about them Padres? Sandy, your Padres. Man, how about Luis Rise, though?
Yeah.
The concussion.
Former Marlin batting champion is going to be out for some time now. So, we want to make sure that, he's all right and makes it back, because he's won 3 batting championships in a row with 3 different teams, the Twins, the Marlins, and now the Padres. So that is a big deal. And hopefully he gets back out there soon enough. But to your point, Sandy, the Padres are off to a really good start in a very tough division. Obviously, the champion Dodgers, the San Francisco Giants are off to a good start. And even the Arizona Diamondbacks are playing good ball. So that's a tough division.
Yeah, no, that was a super hard hit, right? Anything with baseball collision wise, they're some of the ugliest hits. Remember, these players, unlike football players, are coming in without padding. So it is pure strong hit, especially plays at the plate, the worst. Yeah. So, all right, well, without further ado, because I can talk about my Marlins all day, but it's not always a point of talk that people love to talk about. So
absolutely.
But I'm still in it. Don't be a fan later. That's what I tell everybody. When people say, they tweet all the time, there's no one at the ballpark, anything. I'm happy there. I bring my little scorebook and everything. Just don't be a fan later. But
well, look, baseball will have its time, right? You have the whole summer dedicated to that. For now, both our basketball and hockey teams, the hockey team, which just won a championship and is trying to defend it, are playing meaningful postseason games. So we're going to ride that out, and then we'll get to baseball. And of immediate concern is the draft is tomorrow night, the NFL draft.
Less than 24 hours away.
Our Dolphins are about to get some good players, and we are thrilled to be joined by our guest tonight. He is the publisher of Miami Dolphins on SI. He is the host of the All Dolphins Podcast, and you've seen him pretty much. You can hear him anywhere where the Miami Dolphins are being discussed. As a matter of fact, this week alone, I've seen him on YouTube.
Yeah.
I've followed him on X. And I've heard him on the radio on the Joe Rose Show.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like he's everywhere where I want to hear Dolphin talk. So without further ado, let's bring in Alain Poupart to the show.
To the point where I was leaving the mechanic and you were like, turn on 560. He's on the radio. And I was like, hold up, but okay, I'll pull over. And I did.
So, Alain, thank you, my man, for joining us.
Absolutely. Of course. Thanks for having me.
No, we're excited to have you. We know you're so busy this week with the Dolphins. I mean, honestly, when is there a quiet time with the Dolphins? If it's not drama off the field, if it's not madness, but this week especially. So we're really grateful to have you on our show tonight. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. You have to forgive my lighting. My lighting is not great here. I'm like trying to toy here.
Oh, please. Lou, with our lighting, trust me. He gets the wrinkles away from us. He looks real good. People think he's... But no, you look fine.
My makeup is good. I'm not sure if you wear makeup, Alain, but I got touched up today.
So before
and I don't dye my hair either because there are some people who have accused me of doing that.
No. What do you know about dyeing?
Well, me and Just for Men are friends sometimes.
There you go.
So before we get into Dolphins talk, I want to personally get to know you, right? I mean, I know you on Twitter. I've seen you around. I appreciate the work you've done for the Dolphins community, and I've seen you on shows. But who are you? Where are you from? What made you get into this line of work? Where'd you go to school? Are you a Dolphins fan, or are you just covering the team? Well, I want to get what were you always a Dolphins fan? Tell us the juice. Give us the 411. Who are you?
I was born a long, long time ago. Okay, I'll try to give you the Reader's Digest version with all the pertinent facts. So I was born in Montreal, Canada, hence the French name. And we vacationed, my family and I vacation in Miami every Christmas time until we eventually moved. Long time ago. I started, as in my bio, covering the Dolphins for a now defunct afternoon newspaper in Miami called the Miami News. If you remember the Miami News or you read the Miami News.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Go. Nice.
Lou's born and raised here. He knows very well.
I know it all.
Okay, very nice. So I worked for the Miami News until it ceased operations December 31st, 1988. Then in July of 1989, I started with Dolphin Digest. And now over the course of what my math is failing me here, 36
years.
Yeah. So I've covered the Dolphins for Dolphin Digest, for AP, for the Dolphin website, which some folks may or may not know. And since 2020, I have been the publisher of Miami Dolphins on SI, which used to be under a different name before. To answer your question, as I have said on YouTube, on the All Dolphins podcast, I'm a journalist. You do this long enough, you stop being a fan. I want the Dolphins to win because guess what? It's better for business. I'm a business owner here, so it's always better. And the worst thing, actually, I would tell you from a business owner standpoint is when they're in the middle. 8-8 is horrible.
Yeah.
It's almost better if they're for a train wreck. And then obviously the best case scenario is they're good and they actually win a playoff game, which I think happened one time. I'm trying to remember. 2000, I think it was.
I think
the dinosaurs were there, Tractosaurus Rex, and are walking the streets and everything.
Long time.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while. But and yet, you could be fans of even a worse organization. So I know the Dolphins are taking arrows all over the place. Jets haven't made the playoffs since, 2011? No, 2010.
I think 2010.
10, yeah.
I think it's 2010.
Where's my Uncle Pete when you need him?
Exactly. 2010 or 2011. 2011 was I'm usually good at this. It was New England. Yeah, it was New England and Baltimore. So it's 2010. Yeah.
All right.
Which
So
actually was the last. I'm sorry, Ashley. Which actually was the last time there was an AFC Championship game without either New England or Kansas City. That 2010 season. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, it's like.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, you mentioned a good point about an 8-8 team, because they always say in life, like, the worst thing you could do is be stagnant, and that's what the Dolphins have been. Is that, you want to grow, or if you go on the decline, you at least have some mud to work with. But being stagnant in life is terrible. So let's recap a little bit last season, right?
Do we have to?
Just real quick. I promise, just be really quick, because there's not much to say except a lot of thumbs down.
Yeah.
We know, obviously, Tua's issues last year. We had a lot of injuries. Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Braxton Berrios. I mean, those are just three that right off the top of my head. Teron Armstead, Raheem Mostert. I dream it, right? And I know going into last season, I was like, all right, maybe this is the year. Maybe not Super Bowl, although we did have hotels booked in New Orleans. But, hey, let's make a playoff run. And obviously that did not happen. Chris Greer is still there. McDaniel is still there. Tua is obviously still there. What is your take on last season? And do you feel that there's any hope of kind of going uphill even pre-draft?
My take on last season is, if you believe in karma, and I do to a certain degree, a bad stage was set during the summer when you had Jalen Waddle wanted a new contract. Tua wanted the new contract, didn't want to play on the fifth-year option. Then Tyreek Hill wanted a new deal, even though he had 3 years left on his deal. And then they piggybacked off of that. Jalen Ramsey wanted more money because that's what Jalen Ramsey does. And then you have Tua doing the quote-unquote, what do they call him, hold in a couple of days before he finally gets his deal.
Yeah.
It seemed like, if you believe in juju, to quote the movie Silver Linings Playbook, great movie, by the way, I highly encourage it. The juju was bad from the start. And then what would possess the Dolphins to think they'd be okay with Mike White and Skylar Thompson as their backup quarterback is beyond me. And piggybacking off of that, I don't care that Skylar Thompson looked better, or I should say looked less bad in the summer than Mike White. To me, based on the body of work in the regular season, Mike White should have been the number 2. Would it have been the disaster it turned out to be? Very well, could have happened, but we'll never know. And then the Dolphins left themselves in a position to be very vulnerable. But even before the injuries hit, that first 2 quarters plus against Buffalo was so insanely deflating, because it was such a huge statement game for the Dolphins. For the Bills, it's like, big whoop. They've beaten us in September before. It's no big deal if they beat us. But for the Dolphins, it's like, can we measure up to the Bills and that kind of team? And it's 31-10 before Tua got injured. And Dolphins looked like they didn't belong. I mean, it was massively deflating, and then Tua gets hurt. And then you have the nice little run at the end. And then, whoops, we get back to the same problem at the end of the year. You play Green Bay, which is an upper echelon team. And that game, I don't want to hear about how the offense produced, because it was 27-3 midway through the third quarter. That thing was done. The Dolphins were not competitive. And then Houston in week 15, defense played great, and the offense completely stunk.
Yep.
Although in that one, you have to start Patrick Paul and Jackson Carman to tackle, which not necessarily ideal.
Yeah, we were at that Jacksonville one. That was a rough. Or not Jacksonville.
Houston. Yeah, we were at the Houston game on the road. That was tough, and that was pretty much the final nail in the coffin. I'm with you though. That losing the last game of the season on Sunday Night Football, the previous season, to the Bills, and facing them, that Thursday night after that Sunday win, which we got lucky against Jacksonville. Once we got destroyed on national television that Thursday night, and then Tua goes down, I think that's where the season was lost. And it's sad that took place in week 2, but that's where we were. So I want to follow this up with, I want to get some draft talk here. And so what are the biggest areas of concern? Ashley mentioned some of the guys that are no longer in the
Yes,
team.
the answer is yes.
Everything.
Well, I had a feeling you were going to say that. So
Love it.
give me your top three here.
Top three.
Going into tomorrow night, what are the top three, in your opinion, that the Dolphins really have to focus on? If you had to pick three, what are those? You don't have to put them in an order, but what are those top
If you're
three?
Chris Greer going into this, what are your top three?
Okay, I'll be happy to put them in order. And there are two ways of looking at it. If you're looking for 2025, it may be different if you're looking maybe more long-term. Because if you're looking for 2025 right now, it's screaming cornerback, it's screaming defensive tackle, and that's 1A, 1B. And then third, probably a guard. And then fourth to me would be safety. I know Chris Greer said the two starting safeties are in the building, but I think the Dolphins, with all due respect to all the players involved, can do better than the four options they have right now, who are Ashton Davis, Ife Melifonwu, Elijah Campbell, and Patrick McMorris. So those would be the four. And if you're looking further down the line, tackle could be a problem. I mean, Patrick Paul is still an unknown on one side. Austin Jackson on the other side, played two games in 2022, and then last year he finished the season on IR after having knee surgery. That could be a problem sooner rather than later. You could throw in tight end because Jonnu Smith's only signed through this year, and behind him, not a whole lot. Quarterback more down the line. I mean, Tua's contract based. He's your starter for the next 2 years. Running back, they're okay. Linebacker, they're okay. A lot of one-year contracts, but the talent's pretty good. Edge could be an issue if Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips don't regain their form. So yeah, it's quite the list.
Okay, so I narrowed it down. You said cornerback. I narrowed it down to that or the offensive lineman position. Now, specifically, I think as is right now, and correct me if you have something different, but our bookends are going to be Patrick Paul and Austin Jackson, left tackle and right tackle. You got Brewer at center. You got Daniels, who we signed from the Steelers, going to be one of your guards. And then the other guard is projected to be Liam Eichenberg, which I know that it's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way. And so this is where I think maybe who would be, if not Eichenberg, who would be the guard that you would put in right now, projected as a starter?
The homeless man on the corner. I mean,
right now, who else on the roster? Chasen Hines is on the roster. Off the top of my head here, I'm trying to think. Larry Borum can play guard, but everything I've heard is he's much better at tackle. Who else is on the roster? I forget. So yeah, it would be Liam Eichenberg.
Right. So if it is, and if that's the case, and he's a guy that, look, like him or hate him, he played all positions. None of them particularly well, but he did. He was a jack of all trades in that regard. But I think you need an upgrade there. And I'm looking at the fact that within the division, the Bills got Joey Bosa. The Patriots signed Tonga and Milton Williams from the Eagles, champion Eagles, and the Jets signed Nadi from KC Chiefs. So you look at two defensive-minded coaches in Mike Vrabel and Aaron Glenn now with the Jets. Their focus is going to be build that defense up. We're married and tied to Tua. We got to protect them, and so that's why I think that this is a good opportunity. I want to hear your take on this to maybe trade back out of 13, take Tyler Booker out of Alabama, and get some more draft capital back. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't like the Tyler Booker pick, and you're not the only one who's mentioned it. But for me, it's a big no. A, he's not a good scheme fit, and B, he's not athletic, which makes him a bad scheme fit. On top of it, he tested horribly, even though he's a very good player, and he's very aggressive. He's not a scheme fit in the least. I don't mind the idea of trading back to get an offensive lineman. To me, if I were to peg an offensive lineman after a trade back, it wouldn't even shock me if it was a pick at 13 would be more Gray Zabel from North Dakota State, who can play basically everywhere on the line. And I'm surprised you didn't mention D tackle, right? Zach Sealer, Benito Jones, Matt Dickerson, and Neil Farrell Jr. And can I say something in defense of Liam? Because speaking of taking arrows, that guy's taking shots all over the place.
Sure is.
Another thing the Dolphins, to me, should be criticized for that they didn't do very well. Kind of sort of looks like they had planned on Liam Eichenberg being one of the starting guards all along last year. And if that's the case, that's what they had in mind all along. Why in the hell are you taking practice reps from him in training camp to switch him to center when Aaron Brewer is sidelined with was a finger or thumb injury? Why wouldn't you go for that whatever it was the end of training camp? Somebody else at center, leave Liam Eichenberg at his spot. This is a guy, to me, they've semi done him wrong through the years. And then at the end of the year, Isaiah Wynn finally comes back from his injury. And what do? They're rotating the two guys, which is why I wrote on Miami Dolphins on SI.com. Cheap plug, thank you. That I was shocked that Liam would want to come back. Forget the Dolphins wanting to bring him back. I would have thought that Liam would be like, see ya.
Yeah.
Of course, it's possible. I don't know if anybody reached out to his agent and if he had any kind of offers, and it was basically the Dolphins or nothing. That I'm not sure. So maybe, I don't know, maybe stick him in one place for a whole season, see how that works out.
So
if I may just follow up really quick. But you mentioned, Eichenberg getting the short end of the stick by having to move around. By drafting a tackle, when you're essentially committed to Paul and Jackson, and moving that tackle into a guard, or moving, Paul or Jackson to the guard position and putting them in tackle, isn't that a disservice to a guy coming into the NFL and having to kind of learn a new position? Know that it's an easy adapt, but still it requires an adjustment there. So that's one thing. And the other follow-up, you mentioned Zabel Gray, the fact that you played for North Dakota, which the competition there is not at the higher end. I know there's examples, Steve McNair and Jerry Rice come out of a small school with a competition, but those are, skill positions. But a lineman like Gray, who's not going up against SEC caliber, Big 12 caliber, bodies, does that worry you at all?
No, for two reasons. Is number one, he kicked ass at the Senior Bowl against BCS, the Power 5 conferences. That's number one. Number two, there have been other examples of Larry Allen playing at Sonoma State, which was a D3 school. And just even the Dolphins had another offensive lineman from North Dakota State who didn't pan out here, but went on to have a pretty good career, and that's Billy Turner.
Yeah.
I had a good NFL career. So no, that doesn't worry me in the least. And then the other point about it being a disservice, the difference between that and what happened to Liam is being moved around during the course of the same season. I think you have the whole off season and training camp to prepare from tackle to guard. Don't think it's the end of the world. Plus, it worked pretty well with Laramie Tunsil in 2016.
Absolutely. You're right. Great point.
So you mentioned that almost the peace outs like Liam, he can kind of, but we did have some players that really did peace out, right?
Ooh.
We had Calais Campbell go back to where he comes from, Arizona, from many years ago. Jalen Ramsey, who pretty much has 1.5 feet out the door. Javon Holland to the Giants. Teron Armstead, who threw the towel up, retired, and I just read recently that he needed a knee replacement all season, so he dogged it out. And then less maybe noticeable players, still a River Craycraft and a Raheem Mostert. So my question to you is, we did lose a lot of players. How do you feel about those guys leaving, and how do we replace that? Where do we go with that?
How do you replace them? I'm going to use my old joke that would make my wife cringe if she can hear me very carefully. Sorry, I can't resist.
Go for it. We're a newly married couple. It's always a good marriage advice. Go ahead. Give him some lines.
Oh, that's right. Congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
No, they're in a pickle in a sort of way. I don't think they can make up for the level of talent that they've lost. That's a lot of big name, high profile names. On top of that, you got the two guys who probably were the most respected in the locker room, with Campbell and Armstead.
Yeah.
The one that's weird, the Javon Holland basically came down to this, and we all knew Javon was going to go where the bag was. I mean, that's literally. Yeah. And you checked out his podcast with Cam Wolf, and it was always almost. He could not have been saying it without saying it more, that he was going to go where he was going to get paid. I mean, good for him, but. So then the Dolphins didn't want to go up to the amount of money he got, which was 15.1, and I can't blame him. I mean, he's a solid safety. I've always said that I think the reputation's bigger than the game, personally. I mean, and I got I got slapped back a few times by some fans in the comments. I think I'm a hater all the way around, but sorry, I don't see it. Campbell's an interesting one, and I'm hoping to find an answer at some point. Text exactly what happened there. I asked Chris Greer at his press conference last week, what kind of effort the Dolphins made to bring him back, and if in the end it was financial considerations, and he kind of avoided ultimately the crux of the question, which is why he left, which doesn't surprise me. Calais kind of kept talking about wanted to go back to where his career began. Is that all there was to it? I don't know. It does. Calais is way too classy a guy that he wouldn't take shots. If he had an issue with the organization where he thinks it's a sinking boat, he would never, ever say that. He's just too classy a dude.
Yeah.
But that's going to be a tough one to replace. You're talking about a guy who's 38 years old, and he's one of your most important players. Raheem, great dude, but if we're going to be honest about it, first of all,
I know
the fact that he was gone should have been seen when he got his extension last year. If you remember, that quote unquote extension turned into was like a signing bonus, job well done, more money in your pockets right now, but it gave the Dolphins a very easy out after 2024. And you knew if he wasn't going to have a year, like he had in 2023, regardless. But if he didn't come close, it was like, by Raheem, time for the kids. And then who else left?
Well, what about Ramsey, right? Ramsey has 1.5 feet out the door. And, you mentioned on Miami Dolphins on SI, the Dolphins may find a trade partner for Ramsey with one of his former teams, the LA Rams. So have you heard anything more on that? Because that's kind of one where, like, we know the ones that are out, but that's like the next one that we're like, what the heck's happening? Anything with that? Have you heard with Ramsey?
Well, what the Rams said, what Sean McVay and Les Snead, the GM, both said is like, we're not closing the door. He's a hell of a player. And when they traded him, it was basically to clear up cap space. They were kind of rebuilding after they made their Super Bowl run, and then they rebuilt with draft picks and just hit after hit after hit after hit last year. Yeah. My Lord, that draft class was crazy. Anyway, be nice if the Dolphins have one of those. And now they get him back. And when they say they don't close the door, read between the lines. It's also, if the Dolphins want to kick in and pay some of his salary, sure, we'd be more than happy to take him. He's a good player. It's going to be complicated. And there's the issue of the timing too, because I don't remember exactly, but the cap pain is a lot more significant if you trade him before June 1st than if you trade him after. But if you trade him after, then now you're looking at 2026 draft pick or picks. Or a player. And I had written something else beforehand on the site that's trading Ramsey, now that both sides have agreed to explore trade possibilities, sounds a lot easier to get done than it's going to be. Because again, he's $21 million. He's got no guaranteed money after this year. And if you know Jalen Ramsey, I'm going to suspect there's a slight chance he might tell his new team, look, folks, I want to look at a new contract if it's possible.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely. All right. So let's talk about, obviously, we mentioned, what went wrong in 2024. And primarily that was, Tua getting hurt. So, fast forward, because Skyler couldn't, do anything positive, and Snoop didn't help much either. We try to address that this offseason by signing Zach Wilson, who was a bust in New York. I believe he didn't take a snap last year at all, and was a third quarterback on the Broncos roster. So what do you make of that signing? And what's next? I mean, do the Dolphins need to bring in a veteran? And with the draft being tomorrow, and you won't see it being done tomorrow, I hope. But is Kyle McCord out of Syracuse or some late pick at quarterback to address bringing another young guy? Is that a possibility, or do we need another veteran? Because Zach Wilson, I'm just not sure that's the answer.
No, I'm not either. But this was one. I mean, we can't accuse the Dolphins of not swinging big at times, because that's what they did with this guy. And this is where sometimes coaches get in trouble. We saw that with Adam Gase and Ryan Tannehill. It was basically, I'm going to make that guy a quarterback because I'm the quarterback whisperer. And didn't pan out well. I hope we don't have a repeat of that with Mike McDaniel and Zach Wilson. And all the reports out of Denver was that he was a new guy who was taken to the coaching. They tweaked some things, and he looked the part, except then he became the third quarterback behind Jarrett Stidham. When, all due respect, Jarrett Stidham.
Right. Exactly.
So, yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic that it'll pan out if he has to play in a game. But, yeah, there'll be some nervousness there. It certainly wasn't a safe move. I mean, Flacco would have been a safe move. Marcus Mariota would have been a safe move.
That's what I said, yeah.
Andy Dalton, if they could have had a shot, but he went back to Carolina pretty quickly. That kind of guy would have been a safer move. But and then the other weird part with Zach Wilson is his contract, which at first was, I mean, he got $6 million regardless. But then with a $6 million cap, if my memory serves me well, and if it doesn't, erase. But as like a $6 million cap originally, this is how it showed up, which basically tells you they're not bringing anybody else to as a veteran quarterback option. And now they restructure the contract to where the cap number is very low. And they made barely $2 million, if that much. So now does that open the possibility where you could invest more cap space in a veteran quarterback? Maybe. But I doubt. I think they kind of made the commitment to him. And absolutely, I can see the Dolphins going the Skylar Thompson route for potential backup with maybe starter capability down the road, maybe earlier in the 7th round, and hopefully somebody pans out more than Skylar Thompson does.
So you mentioned cap space, and that would lead me to my next player, Tyreek Hill. There's a lot of money being tied up right now, a lot of drama, a lot of allegations, a lot of like caca going on, right? And with that being said, is there any shot that we see any movement from him tomorrow, by him getting moved out of here? And if not, is he a candidate post June 1st to limit the salary cap hit?
That's a tough one.
Just get him out of here. Just get him out of here.
Yeah, but how do you replace him, though? Are the Dolphins really better? I mean, are the Dolphins really better if they trade him?
No.
And that's a problem. And it's I'm still less than 50-50 gets traded, period. I just don't see it. Again,
I see both sides. Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I stress this to folks all the time. Look beyond the numbers at what he does for the offense in terms of spreading the defenses because they're so scared of him.
Sure.
I mean, Jonnu Smith feasted last year, and he better take Tyreek out to dinner so Tyreek can feast, because he helped him out big time with that. And Jalen Waddle's really, really fast, but he doesn't command that kind of attention from defenses the way Tyreek does. And it would have to reach a point where everybody in the Dolphin organization has a powwow and they all agree we're worse off having him on the team. He's so disruptive because of that. And if he takes care of his business, I don't know what happens in his personal life, no matter how bad a look it might be for the Dolphins, in terms of the image. I don't know that. And I will tell you this, the dude works hard. And I know he was mentioned as one of those possibly late to meetings, but I don't think work ethic is an issue with the dude, because if you've ever seen Tyreek up close when he's at practice,
he's a dog.
He is cut.
Yeah.
He is cut. So he works. What's the word I'm looking for? The extracurricular stuff. Yeah, it would be nice if it appeared, but.
And the lack of leadership as well, right? I mean, because you mentioned being late to meetings, and nobody's, I guess, said that it was him, but it's kind of put out there that it was him. But when you're ending the season and saying I'm out, dog, or whatever, and he's saying he's quitting on the team and all that, that's not. You need a guy in the locker room who's, if he's going to be your best player, it's got to be a leader. And the off-field stuff is one thing, but you can't have that and then also not be a leader in the locker room. So.
You are right.
It's tough.
So
here's the thing, though, guys. Did Tyreek, in terms of his personality, ever strike you as somebody we look at? Oh, that's a leader right there.
No.
He's not. He's an
No,
athlete.
there's a reason why the Kansas City Chiefs has won Super Bowls without him, since they've left. So, it tells you, he's not make or break, but
he just has so much potential to be a great guy, right? He's a business guy, has his store, Soul Runner. We've gone to his galas before supporting children with health issues. Like, you have so much potential to be such a role model down here. And the extracurriculars, as you mentioned, is just so distraction instead of the mission on the field. So we shall see. But you're right. It's going to be a coin flip. And it's like, are we better off without him?
Well, it's going to be tough. It's going to be very tough to do.
Yeah. So one more thing I have for you. Earlier this week, I love tweeting things where people can engage with each other. Like, I love the conversation with each other. So I tweeted one thing out this week. I said, based on the Dolphins' past draft history picks, who was the absolute worst Dolphins draft pick in history? And so I'm going to open this dialogue to you guys, but I did
the room as well.
And the room. So I looked at all the votes. I did the survey, did my research project, and top 3 worst draft picks according to Dolphins Twitter, which they're experts. They're all experts. So this is top news. All right. So top 3 worst Dolphin draft picks according to them. But before I do that, I do want to show you guys a picture. I didn't even show Lou this. I'm going to, let's see, share screen. All right, look at this. So, all right. This is from the Miami Herald. If you see me right here, this is the year that we drafted who? Harris.
Charles Harris. Right?
Okay. And the Miami Herald, I was at the Dolphins draft party at the stadium years ago.
Nice.
And when they said Harris, you could see all of our looks, right? Some of these people here, there's Mama Barker there. That's me. It was like wild. So with that,
where are you? Were you wearing the Kiko Alonso jersey?
That's another story off camera. But yes, those are my Kiko jersey. You knew it, 47. But yeah, so we're being Dolphin fans. It's kind of like we get these draft picks. We're like, who, what, where, how, when. So, the fans have spoken. The 3 top worst Dolphins draft picks, and I want you guys to tell me yours. Not in order. Deion Jordan, Ted Ginn, and Charles Harris. Alan, starting with you, who is the absolute worst Miami Dolphins draft pick that you remember?
Can I look at my media guide here real quick to refresh my memory on the first round picks?
Absolutely.
Yeah, of course. Got a lot to choose from. There's quite a few that have gone down in Pooh.
Ted Ginn, no way. Sorry, not Ted Ginn.
Not Ted Ginn. Okay, I'm going to cross him off that list. Ted Ginn.
Dude played in the NFL for like 12 years.
I know. Yeah.
So Deion Jordan and Charles Harris would be the other 2.
He was, however, associated with the wildest press conference I ever attended in my life.
and family. We drafted his whole family.
Yes. You got to turn the thumbs this way.
Jesus. Oh, heavens.
That was not good. Okay, I'm looking at here real quick. Obviously, we're looking first round picks. Charles Harris, absolutely, and that's a no-brainer. Deion Jordan. However, the one thing that mitigates the Deion Jordan fiasco a little bit, if ever so slightly, if you recall, they traded up from 12 to 3.
Yeah.
Okay. You remember what they gave up to make that move?
I do not.
All they gave up was a second-round pick. Now, do you recall what they got from San Francisco to move from 3 to 12, which is the exact same trade?
I do not.
They got 2 first-round picks.
Okay.
So, props to Jeff Ireland for getting to move up 9 picks at a very, very low cost, and then major demerits for picking Deion Jordan.
Okay. All right. So that helps a little bit. I was going to say Deion Jordan. That
we have another name in the chat, though. Yatil Green.
No.
He was hurt, though. He was hurt a lot. I mean,
tore an ACL like his first training camps. That's his fault. Eric Kumaro was one that's 1988, before you guys were born.
No. Lou's a 70s baby.
Whoa.
He is.
I'm telling you, it's just for men. It makes me appear 20 years younger.
But you got half of that part right.
Okay, I'm looking back here. This is Jackie Shipp was not great. Was not a great pick. That's 1984. I apologize here if I'm doing this is not necessary.
No, this is great. No. You're bringing up names that have been mentioned in my poll, but the top 3 were Deion Jordan, Ted Ginn, and Charles Harris.
Yeah, to me, absolutely not. Oh, Jamar Fletcher. Got to be in the top 3. especially considering here's how bad the pick was. You had a director of college scouting by the name of Tom Bratz, who was banging the table for Drew Brees, was overruled. And so they took Jamar Fletcher. And here's the massive problems with that pick. He was a cornerback out of Wisconsin who played zone in college when the Dolphins were employing press men under, this is Dave once said, who was carrying on Jimmy Johnson. Oh, and the other issue with that particular pick, Dolphins already had two cornerbacks on their roster by the name of Sam Madison and Patrick Surtain.
Yeah.
So cornerback was not necessarily a massive need. And then you pass on Drew Brees. So to me, it's Drew Brees.
Ugh.
And I'll throw in another one for you guys after this. You'll like this one. Drew Brees, Deion Jordan, Charles Harris. I'll throw in a second round pick for you. I'm going to go to 2003. The Dolphins selected a linebacker from Tennessee by the name of Eddie Moore, who told us in his conference call after he got selected, we asked him the obligatory, was that pretty much where you expected to go in the draft? And he's like, no, I thought I was going to go later. And this is basically the first comment you hear from your draft pick that expected to get drafted after the Dolphins drafted him. And by the way, the Dolphins had a massive need for a wide receiver and passed on the chance to select Anquan Bolden.
Oh my goodness, what a jab. So God can believe himself.
I'll give you another one. Listen, Jimmy Johnson, for all the great he did, and specifically drafting Zach Thomas. But look, didn't he take John Avery when he had a chance of getting Randy Moss? I mean, that'll go down as a...
It's not quite. I know that's how the story is portrayed. The Dolphins had the 19th pick, traded down before Randy Moss started the tumble. So to say that he knew that Randy Moss was going to be there at 19 and traded the chance to pick him away, I don't know. That's totally fair.
Fake news.
Oh, there you go.
Right.
So I know Lou has one more thing for you. He wants to show you.
Well, let's ask the best.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
Is it a layup? It's got to be Marino, right? The best draft pick of all time for the Dolphins. No,
Richmond Webb.
Again, you're talking about a first round pick. Well, I'd be more inclined to go with Zach Thomas, for example, Hall of Famer in the fifth round. You want other like late round gems. Mark Clayton in the 8th round is pretty damn impressive.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that's the thing with Marino. It's like it was 27th overall pick, but it was a first round pick, and it was kind of a no brainer a little bit. So no, I know he's always up there, which is fine. But to me, again, my definition of like the great pick is, the most value for what the pick was, and getting a Hall of Famer in the 5th round. To me, you can't top that.
Okay. All right, perfect. All right, so I want to have some fun before we get out of here. But before we do that, what is the likelihood of the Dolphins pulling the trigger on a trade tomorrow, moving back, or at some point making some moves to get more draft capital? Do you anticipate that happening, or do you think we're going to stick to our selections and draft based on needs
and stay on 13?
60-40, they do it.
Okay.
And I think they'd like to, but the trick is always finding a trade partner.
Okay. And then do you see this, if this does take place, do you anticipate this happening early tomorrow? Is it going to go right down to, to get to feel out the other teams? Are trades more likely to happen, start of the day tomorrow, or as we get closer to that draft?
But yeah, from Elway to Marino, absolutely. Brent, that is a great documentary for those who have not watched it. It's a very, very good documentary. It's more likely to happen when the Dolphins are on the clock with a team that has a specific player in mind, and like, oh, we want that guy, and then they'll make a phone call to the Dolphins. What's it going to take for us to get that pick?
At that point.
At that point. Perfect. All right, so let's have some fun.
So Lou has a prop that he was like, I got to show him. He's going to love this. Lou's a very creative guy.
Yeah.
He's a collector of things.
I already see the Expos hat.
Come on. You know it.
Very nice.
You know it's coming. So, first of all, amazing logo, right? Come on. One of the greatest logos ever.
Yeah,
right? I don't want it to be the Marlins, but at some point, the Expos, they need to come back. So hopefully expansion or however it is, the Expos are back. Great. Speaking of great logos, are you a current Miami Dolphins logo or the throwback? Well, what's your take? What's Alain Poupart's pick there?
Hold on. Let's go 51-49 for the old logo.
Okay.
That's
Wow,
ours.
it's close.
Yeah, we're big old schools.
I'm big old school logo, but that's okay. Hey, listen, as long as we win, that's all I care about. But by the way, the Dolphins will be allowed to wear the throwbacks 4 times this year, which is up from 2, which is a huge deal. And I believe, Alan, correct me if I'm wrong, they still have the option of getting an extra one in the playoffs. Is that right? Or is it just 4 for the whole season? Do you know that answer?
Let me pretend I know. Yeah, sure. No, yeah.
Okay.
I honestly don't know.
And in the Super Bowl too.
I will ask in your future mailbag when you ask. I'll put it in there, and if you can find out, I know you have all the resources to do so. So find out if we can hopefully wear it again in the Super Bowl as our 5th option. But
are you one of those who is maniacal about the throwbacks?
I'm not crazy about it. Again, I just want to win, but I do love the old logo. It takes us back to a time when we actually won. So I would like to see it, as often as possible.
Good memories.
I'm thrilled that it's going to be worn more times than just 2 in a 17-game season. So, yeah.
Okay. Hit me with your Expo stuff.
Okay. All right. Here we go. We're going to talk about the Expos here. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. These are if their careers would have been the whole time with the Expos, who are you taking? All right. So, again, not what they did later on in their career. Had they been an Expo the whole time?
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Here we go.
So you're the GM of the Expos back in the day.
You're GM and Felipe Alou. Young Expos. You taking Delino DeShields or Marquise Grissom?
Marquise Grissom.
Okay. Delino can run, though. Marquise, too.
Don't question
Marquise is like a 5-tool player. I mean, so that's I don't think pass that up.
True. All right. Let's go to pitchers. Randy Johnson or Pedro Martinez?
Oh, I know mine.
Well, Randy Johnson didn't do anything with the Expos. So if we're not counting career outside the Expos, it's got to be Pedro.
No, sir. Hold on. I want to reiterate how this game works.
Go ahead.
If they could have stayed in Expo for the whole career
and had the same performance,
so they would have been in Expo the whole time. Who would have been your
Randy Johnson had the better.
Okay, all right. So the big unit, all right.
I'm Pedro girl.
And then I'll end it with this: if they could have remained in Expo for their entire career, the greatest Expo would have been. Is it Andre Dawson? Is it Gary Carter? Is it Tim Raines? Or is it Vladimir Guerrero?
Vlad,
right?
I would have told you that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And as is, though, who was the greatest Expo?
Are we talking about current production during his time with the Expos?
Yes.
Yeah, because Vlad kind of had to leave because of like everything else that happened with the Expos. So greatest career with the Expos. Ooh, man, that's a good one.
We're big baseball junkies. Huge. We love baseball.
I used to be. I was at a point, I probably can't do it anymore, but I was at a point where I could recite you practically every starting lineup of every team from the 70s and the early 80s. I was a baseball junkie, and then when Major League Baseball did the Expos wrong, it was like, baseball what? Yeah. Baseball who? So anyway, I used to listen to Expos games on the radio. That's how much of a junkie I was.
We did that with the Marlins.
Sorry?
We did that with the Marlins.
There you go. Thumbs up. In fact, probably deserves one of these.
That's hard. We had a 3-hour drive on Monday, and we listened to the Marlins game the whole way home.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. I'm sidestepping your question because
your favorite all-time Expo.
My favorite is Vlad or Tim Raines.
Okay. Tim Raines was great.
I'll take that.
And he had some time with the Marlins at the end there, and that was fun to watch. The legend that he was down here. So I got you. Okay. All right. Well, Alan, thank you so much again for joining us on this pre-draft show eve. And I know everybody should by now know where to follow you. Everybody should know that, but if those that don't, how can they follow you? What's the best way to get in contact with you and follow everything, all the great things you do for the Miami Dolphins?
I'm very easy to follow. You see, my website is MiamiDolphinsOnSI.com. We have the All Dolphins Podcast, which runs every day during the regular season and 3 or 4 times a week during the off season. And then we also started a Dolphin Collective with podcasters Doug Lee Durong, TD Finstock, Omar Kelly from the Miami Herald, and myself.
Yeah.
It's called the Dolphins Collective every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m., which is live. Did I mention the website, MiamiDolphinsOnSI.com? I am on X at Poupart NFL, which is POUPART NFL. My DMs are open. I will respond if inquiries are respectful and pertinent. I have a lot of people hit me up, and I actually enjoy interacting as long again. And even disagreements is cool. I like that. As long as
healthy disagreements is fine. I get it too. I see the comments you get. You probably see the comments I get. As long as it's healthy and respectful, we're good.
That's what it's all about.
And as long as folks don't take every single comment about Tua that's not flowers and roses as a
preach it. Say it again for them in the back. What did you say?
I said that every comment that is not flowers and roses at Tua does not mean that I hate Tua, I don't like Tua, or I think he sucks.
Yeah.
Amen. Absolutely. Could not have said it better myself. Oh, I'm quoting that. No, it's people are, they ride or die with him. At the end of the day, we all just want the team to be successful. We want him to be healthy. And it is what it is with him. If he is not the guy, he's not going to be the guy. If he is the guy, but we want him to be the guy. We want him to be good. We want him to be ace. So I get it. You said it excellent. But thank you so much. We know you're super busy this week. It's such a big week, and we really appreciate your time. And we enjoy, collaborating with you on social media. And it was awesome to get to know, who you are on and off the field. So thank you for that.
No, thank you guys. I enjoyed it very much.
Thanks. Perfect. Have a great night.
Have a good night. Take care, Alan. Take care.
Love the hat, by the way, Lou.
Did it just for you.
Have a good night. All right. Well, that was awesome.
Yeah, I know. He's such a fun guy, man. We see his work on social media. You can read his articles. I've studied up on him. And to know his story and stuff. He's been covering the Dolphins for a long time, and he's seen it. And so we really appreciate his insight.
Unfortunately, like a lot of us fans and those who follow the team, it's been a lot more bad times than good. But, we always have to – I'm going to turn my Expos hat around while I talk Dolphins here.
It kind of looks like Bill's colors. I would change it on fire you for those who can't see.
Well, no, but look, it's great.
Yeah, but if you wear it backwards, it's definitely Buffalo.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't want somebody thinking that I'm wearing that hat. So, but no, look, the Dolphins obviously have a proud tradition. The only team to go, I could go on and on, all the great accolades that this team has had. And it's been tough. It's been tough to cover it, but he is, covering it as best as anybody out there. And it was great and refreshing to get his opinions, what he sees happening tomorrow night. And, we're going to have a bunch of new Dolphin players on the roster added in the next couple of days. And hopefully we hit on as many as possible because we need it.
Yeah. And one thing, just a little score update, 99-88. Cavaliers are winning with 7 minutes left in the fourth, so behind by 11 with 7 minutes to go.
Not 11. You said it's 90.
99-88.
Oh,
down by 11.
All right, I got it different here.
You're actually okay. Our TV's a little delayed.
Okay, so I have it updated here. It's 99-81. So we're down 8 points with 7.5 minutes to go. 7 minutes to go. So.
We just scored. So we just scored to get 91. You're definitely ahead. Our TV's behind. What the heck is up with that?
Well, listen.
It was Haywood who just made that.
The Heat are down 8 points right now. Game 2, not the end of the world, right? I mean, they are playing against the number 1 seeded Cavaliers.
Really good Cavaliers.
What I always say, it's an adage, but it's true. The playoffs do not start until the home team loses. So even with a loss tonight, we're coming back to Miami, and we'll have an opportunity to respond. And, do what we got to do in the game 3 and game 4 scenarios, whether it's 1-1 or down 0-2, the Heat will have a chance to get back in the series.
Yeah, no, the Heat have to do it. I mean, first of all, there's so many people who didn't even think the Heat would even make the playoffs, given how type of season we've had. We had like a 10-game losing streak, and the whole Jimmy Butler thing. And obviously, Jaime Jaquez has not been fantastic. Nikola Jovic has been injured, but not great as well. So
he's been injured. So he came back the first time in over 8 weeks playing. So there's hope there. With him coming back and getting more reps.
Yeah. So all we're focusing on right now is we are in the playoffs. We are just down 1-0 in the series against the number 1 seed Cleveland Cavaliers. They're still in it, and then our Florida Panthers are up 1-0 against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Game 2 is tomorrow in Tampa. We won yesterday 6-2. Huge statement we put on the Tampa Bay Lightning, and I'm hoping that we have Panthers hockey all the way till June. So, guys, thank you again for joining us tonight. We are on the eve of the NFL draft, which will be held tomorrow in Green Bay, Wisconsin. It is the night where many, many, many dreams are made tomorrow for individuals who have worked very, very hard. It's a wonderful night. They, do a great job putting on production. I love to see the suits personally. These guys come with the coolest suits, looking like rock stars. And so, Josephine Ebby, one of our faithful viewers, little shout out for her birthday. Her birthday is coming up this week. So
That's
happy
right.
early birthday.
Happy early birthday, Joe.
To Joe. She also had a question that she does not know what to do with her Tyreek Hill jersey. So if anybody's looking for a 2X Tyreek Hill jersey, hit her up. I'm sure she'll sell it for a good price.
We shall see what happens with Tyreek. Maybe our guest, Alain Poupart said it's unlikely. It's unlikely to move him, and I understand that, but we shall see. But no, again, thank you guys for joining us. Again, like tonight's show if you have not done so already, and also if you have not subscribed to the channel, what are you waiting for? We got a lot of interesting stuff coming up. None bigger than the NFL schedule coming out, as you know, as you've heard, as you see on the top of our show. This show is powered and sponsored by 305 Sports Travel, and that NFL schedule will be released here in the next several weeks. And we will, like we did last year, put together some interesting packages as to where we're going to be traveling to watch our Dolphins play. And we're excited for it.
We are. So until then, we have 10 picks to get through, hopefully forever's on our team, and who will eventually get us to
the promised land.
Exactly, guys. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. It has been a pleasure. Special thanks to our guest tonight, Alain, who you guys know him. He is fantastic. Follow his work. He's very active on social media as well. He tells it how it is, very similar to our buddy Big O. And that's the type of guys you want in your corner, to not sugarcoat it and say it how it is. So that's why he's one of my favorite journalists out there. And definitely give him a follow.